opinions on it. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Jaclyn Hill palette by Morphe, which looks like this. And a lot of you guys have reached out to me on Snapchat asking me what I thought about the palette, because that's usually where I talk about this palette or where I show my makeup looks and share things like that. And some of you have reached out to me and asked me what I thought about the palette and how I feel about it. So that's why I'm doing this video. I'm going to go ahead and give my 2 cents about this palette and what I think and my honest review. So I like Jaclyn Hill. I know some people don't like her. They think she's annoying or whatever. I don't mind her at all. I like a lot of the same makeup products that she does, and I like a lot of her looks that she creates. So that's why I wanted to get this palette, and I was really excited because I knew that it was going to be something that I was going to like, just because I like a lot of the same products she does. So that's why I decided to get it. I got it the day it launched, and it was $38, and you get 35 eyeshadows. So I thought that was a really good price for all the eyeshadows that you are getting. And I've tried Morphe palettes before in the past, and I've really liked them. So I went ahead and got it. And what was I going to say? This is more expensive than the regular eyeshadow palettes. I think the normal ones run about $28 or like $20, and this one is $38. Supposedly it's because of they're all new formulas. They got new machines to create these eyeshadows. There's like a whole big thing about why it's more expensive. I don't mind that it's more expensive because you get 35 shadows, $38, so it's like roughly a little over $1 each eyeshadow, which I think is still good. So I don't mind the price. And let's go ahead and talk about the packaging. This is obviously not the normal packaging for Morphe. The other palettes don't look like this. This is totally new. This is cardboard, and it has the magnet flap. So this is what a regular Morphe palette looks like. It's like in this plastic, and they look like this. And then they clip closed. This is a 35O, just in case you were wondering what palette that was. That's 35O. Okay, so this is a totally new type of packaging for the eyeshadows. So let's go ahead and talk about this little thing here. So I got this. This has all the names of each eyeshadow on it. And I was told by a friend of mine that she did not receive this, which I don't think is right. Everybody should have received this little, what is it, postcard with the names on it. But honestly, to be like totally honest about the names, I think that was a total waste of time for her to name each eyeshadow if it wasn't going to be incorporated on the actual palette in some way. Meaning like, you know, putting the names underneath each eyeshadow. Or if you weren't going to do that, at least print it on the back, because I think that this here is just a total waste of space. It has the Morphe X Jaclyn Hill, and then the little JH's all over. I don't know if it's focused there, you can see it. So this is the back here. I think it would have been a lot more helpful to have this printed on the back, because honestly I don't want to have to refer to this every time I am doing a makeup look. And I think it's convenient to have names for each eyeshadow, because then for us beauty gurus, or you know, doing a makeup tutorial, you can just say I'm using Enlight, I'm using Beam, I'm using Silk Cream, instead of saying like this one here, 3rd over and 2 down. You know what I mean? It's useful to have a name, but if the name is not incorporated on the palette, then I don't think there's a point, because you know, I could easily lose this. Or now I keep it like this so I don't lose the little postcard. I just store it like that and I close it. But I think that is just, it's not smart to have it separate from the palette. It should be inside the palette in some way. Okay, and so the actual formulas and whatnot of the palette, let's talk about the eyeshadows themselves. So I actually really like a lot of these colors. Honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to use these 4 here. I would have been happy if those were not included. I would have been happy if there were like neutral tones, to be honest. I know that she had to put some pops of color in there just to make everybody happy, but I would have personally just been happy with all neutrals and no pops of colors, but that's just me. I'm probably not going to really use those that much. I'll probably just force myself to use these tomorrow actually. I'm not going to swatch each individual eyeshadow for you like on my arm. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that because what I've found is that when you swatch them on your arm, it's totally different from the way that it actually applies on the eye. So those to me are not that useful anymore, just because I've noticed that, like for instance, I used this color today. This is called, I have to look at my card. This is called Mink, and it looks like this. So you can see that it swatches very pretty. The actual formula is very velvety, buttery, and smooth, and this is what it looks like. And I have it on my eye, and to me on the eye it doesn't look as vibrant as the actual swatch. See here? See how like shiny and foiled and metallic it looks? To me it doesn't look the same on my eye, and I used it dry and I've used it wet. So that's why I don't really want to swatch every single eyeshadow, because it looks totally different on the eye usually. Some of the darker shades in the palette were hard for me to blend out. Like I'll show you here. These here in this area, right in here, those were really hard for me to blend. I felt like they weren't as creamy or as buttery as some of my other eyeshadows. They are pigmented, so what I ended up doing was getting a shade and kind of just tapping it in the area that I wanted, because that's where it's going to be most concentrated, and then slowly blended it out. You can't really go in and then diffuse the color, because it doesn't, it just stays in one spot. It's very like patchy. It's very kind of dry. So those, you do have to spend a little bit more loving care with those eyeshadows and really take your time with them, because they were harder for me to blend out. And then some of the eyeshadows are not as pigmented, like these here. They're very sheer. So like they're not as pigmented, they're really sheer, and I'm thinking that's because they're transition colors. They're not supposed to be super duper pigmented. They're kind of on the sheer side, so I don't really mind that, because I don't want my transition shade to be super dark and hard for me to blend. So those, of course, when you swatch them on your hand, they're not going to be super pigmented, but you don't want them to be, because they're transition shades. And as far as like the metallics, they're all very pretty. I like the metallic foiled. Again, they're not as intense on the eye. So just, you know, I'm kind of just giving you these little swatches just so you can kind of see them. They're a lot more shiny on the finger or on the arm. See there? But they have a really nice formula. So when you put them on, you don't really need a primer. They work really well without any type of primer. I personally like to use these eyeshadows with a cream base. I think that's the way they work the best. That's going to give you the most like impact, is if you use a cream base even with these. But they are very smooth. They're creamy. They're just not as bright on the eye. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the demo portion of this video, so you can actually see the eyeshadows in action and see how they apply on the eye, and see how they perform. And then I will be back to give you my final thoughts and my spiel on the Jaclyn Hill palette. So the first color I'm going to take is called Silk Cream. And this is going to be my transition color. This color in particular is super sheer. You can see when I'm applying it that it's not super pigmented, but I'm guessing it's that way because it's meant to be a transition color. Usually you don't want the transition color to be super pigmented or dark. Now I'm going to go in with the color right underneath it. It's called Pooter. So this one does show up a little bit darker and it blends really nicely. I'm not having any troubles blending it out. Naturally, I want to gravitate towards the warm colors, but since I've been seeing lots of tutorials using all the warm shades, I'm going to go ahead and use the other colors in the palette just to switch it up, give you something a little bit different. So now I'm going to start to intensify this, and I'm going to go in with the color, what is that, Buns. I'm going to start to intensify the outer corner. This color is really pretty. It's kind of like a mauve tone. It has that mauve tone to it. Now the last time I used this, the times that I went into the darker colors, it was a little hard for me to blend them out. So I'm going to go in with a smaller brush, and I'm going to go in with the color that's right underneath Buns. It is called Chip. I'm just going to tap it first and then get it into the other colors. I want to go in with 24/7, but I'm a little bit afraid because it doesn't swatch that pretty. Do you see the color right there? It looks prettier in the actual pan, but the swatch is not as nice, so I don't think I'm going to go in with that one. I'm going to probably try, let's see, this one is Mink's. Yeah, we'll go with Mink's. So first I'm going to put it on with my finger, because this is how I would usually use these type of shades. I don't apply these type of like metallic shades with a brush. I always use my finger. So I'm going to do that first, and then we'll try it and see what it looks like with a brush, but with Fix Plus. So that's what this color looks like. See, to me, it looks so much prettier on the finger than it does on the eyeball. Let me try to like kind of make it shiny. See, it doesn't really make it all that shiny. Now I'm going to go in with the brush 242 MAC, and I'm going to spray it to see if that makes a difference. No, not really. Kind of just turned it into like kind of paste. Oh, okay, no, I don't like that. It kind of made it like very pasty. So it kind of turned into a bronzy look. Okay, so I'm going to do my makeup off of camera, and then I'll be back to do the rest of the review. Okay, so overall, my final thoughts on this palette is that it was a little bit of a... how do I word this? Because I don't want to say that it was a disappointment, because I wasn't really disappointed. Like, I don't regret purchasing this palette because I really do love it and I use it a lot. But I do think that it was hyped up just a little too much, because and by Jaclyn Hill, I mean, because I watched her videos, and the way she explained her process and what she was thinking and what she wanted to do as far as the palette made it seem like it was going to be this palette that was going to be super amazing and surpass all the other palettes that I already own. And to me, it's up there, but it's not like the best palette that I have. For instance, it's definitely better than this palette that I have, like way better than this palette. The eyeshadows and everything, like the formula, the way they look on the eye, it's definitely way better than that palette. But to me, it's not better than my Juvia's Place palette. To me, this is still like one of my favorite palettes, just because the formula is absolutely insane. Not this one, hold on. This one here, like when I use this palette, I was absolutely blown away by the impact of these eyeshadows. Like for instance, this one here. See how metallic and super blinding it is? This is how it's going to look on your eye. So when I put this on my eye, it looks just like this. It doesn't lose any of that brightness, any of that, you know, super intense payoff. It doesn't lose any of that when you put it on the eye. Whereas some of these shades, they're not as pretty on the eye, if that makes any sense. So, I don't know what they're doing at Juvia's Place, but these eyeshadows, to me, the foiled ones, are just insane. They're so pretty, and so far these are the best I've ever used, and they're affordable. So that's what I mean by I was not disappointed, because I still like the palette, but I thought it was going to be more along the lines of something like this, where it's like out of this world type of like, these eyeshadows are amazing, I'm never going to touch anything else type of eyeshadow. Because the way Jaclyn was describing it, like they had to buy all new machines to create these eyeshadows. They're pressed differently and all these things. So to me, I didn't feel a difference as far as the textures, or you know what I mean. But honestly, I didn't notice the difference between these shadows and the regular ones. So that's my only thing, is that I don't regret buying this. And say I lost it, say I misplaced it or broke or whatever, I would definitely repurchase this palette, just because I do get a lot of use out of it, and I do use it every day. It has a lot of the colors that I like. So some of the eyeshadows in the actual palette are hits and misses for me. There are some that I don't really like, but there are some that I really love. So I think if you are interested and you really love makeup, then it would be worth it. If you are kind of like, I already have so many neutral palettes, I don't need another one, then you can definitely pass on it. So yeah, I overall really like this palette. I wouldn't say I love it, but I really do like it a lot, and I do use it a lot, and I like the looks that I am able to create with this palette. So that is my review, and let me know if you have the palette and what you think about it. I would love to hear your opinions on this palette, because I know that there's a lot of different reviews out there. A lot of them are super negative, some of them are super positive. I feel like the one I gave you just now is a little bit in between. I do have some positives, and there are some things that I don't like about the palette, but overall I think it's still a good palette to have if you really like neutrals and you just are a makeup lover. So again, let me know your comments, because I really want to see them and I really want to read them. And I will have everything that I used on my face listed in the description box, because I know that I didn't do like a full tutorial on this look, but I will have everything in the description box below, and you can go ahead and check it out if you're curious about what I used on my face. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions, or you guys want to know something that I left out, again, go ahead and just ask me. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today, and I hope to see you in the next video.